Yo, what's up everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Great League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a really strong team in the new Season 20 of Go Battle League. This team right here is Clefable, double normal, with double rollout. Buff rollout is actually insanely good. It's really noticeable how much more damage it does. Lickilicky got access to rollout, Dunsparce got the buff to rollout, and one really interesting thing about this team here is we're running Earthquake on Lickilicky. I decided to run Earthquake for the sole reason that Clodsire is super popular in this current meta. You guys will basically need to be as prepared as possible for Clodsire. It's on so many teams in this meta. As you can see in this first matchup right here, you put in a Tropius lead, they're actually bringing in a Talonflame to Lickilicky with rollout, and as you guys are seeing, these rollouts are absolutely destroying the Talonflame. We free and throw for good timing here. We're using Nerf Body Slam, of course. It's still a decent move on Lickilicky. Lickilicky being a little bit more attack weighted than its little brother Lickitung. We decided to let this move go here, and the rollouting will continue. We're going to roll out this the whole way down with the Dunsparce. Because the opponent went for a Flame Charge first time, I decided to respect this move. It'll do a substantial amount of damage, and as you can see here, Dunsparce just basically core breaking this whole team by itself. We have the drill runs for the lanterns, and look at the rollout damage. This is bulky lantern. These rollouts ordinarily were doing absolutely nothing. 2 drill runs still knocked it out, but you never really could farm it down, so it is very cool to see the massive difference in the rollout damage. I really like this team, guys. It's Clefable in the lead, which of course is really good into fighting types like Machamp. Clefable got buffed this season with the addition of Swift, which I did find to be quite useful in some of these matches, which you're going to see as well. And like I said, double normal with double ground coverage for all of the Clodsires, having the rock coverage for all of the flyers in the meta. Generally, these Pokemon are top meta, and they work very well together. If you wanted to, you could run a Sableye or a different Ghost in the lead. Ghost double normal definitely works, but for me, I tried out Clefable and I definitely wasn't disappointed. Anyway guys, we'll hop into the rest of the battles here. Do me a quick favour, drop a like in the video, it really helps out. Big thank you for the support on the stream, man. We had about 460 people watching the stream. Big thank you. If you want to be part of our community here, drop a like, subscribe, and let me know your favourite buff Pokemon in the comment section down below. Massive thank you, and let's hop back into the battles. As you can see here, we have a very good matchup against the Dusclops. Now, I need to know about Dunsparce's. Drill Run does more damage than Rock Slide, especially with the nerf. I went for an undercharge, we do get a massive rollout down, and the opponent actually brings in their own Dunsparce here. Since the opponent brought in the Dunsparce again, and because my Dunsparce is getting super low, instead of letting it go down, I'll just bring in Lickilicky. Dunsparce will be able to make it to 1 or 2 moves, so I think it's definitely worth preserving, and because the opponent's not swapping out, they obviously must be weak to these 2 Pokemon here. We can still go for Body Slams, we can still go for Earthquakes, which of course will do a lot of damage. The opponent is shielding these moves, so at this point I realise like I'm in a very good position here. It has to be either a Flyer in the back, it could be perhaps even a Clodsire, which of course does not want to get Earthquaked or Drill Runned necessarily. I'm thinking it's definitely one of those 2. Even a Feraligatr in the back would probably somewhat make sense here. They're sort of weak to counter with the Dunsparce, and then they have the Shadow Claw user in the back. Whatever it might be back there, we look to be in a very strong position, and that's what I just find with this team so often. I very rarely find myself in a weak position with this team. It just worked super well. Now they're in a farm down range, and yeah, we're finally going to be able to see what the opponent wants to come into here. Surprisingly, the opponent was not super weak in the back. They come into a Oranguru, which is definitely a cool core breaker. It got 2 very direct buffs this season. It got buff Brutal Swing, and it also got Trailblaze with the buff. So Oranguru, quite an interesting core breaker this season. If you think about it, it does very well into the Feraligatr and Clodsire core, so definitely Pokemon to keep an eye out for. We can let this go at this point. They go for Trailblaze, the opponent's super low, we roll out down the monkey, we're going to roll out down the little worm here as well. That's going to be good games well played, and hopping into the next battle here, we have a Dragonair lead, Dream lead for Clefable, and the great thing is we have spammier moves now. The opponent cannot really afford to stay in and Body Slam, because we can just Swift the life out of it, which is great. The opponent comes into a very awkward safe swap in Defense Deoxys. Now of course, I need to learn all of the new move countings with these Pokemon. I don't know what counter, I'm not expecting to see counter anymore, so I do actually have to look these up. If you don't know these move counts, the best thing you can do at the moment is just assume they cost 1 or 2 more. I had a look at it, Psycho Boost it costs 1 more, so it's straight 6 for Psycho Boost, and it's actually 10-9 for Thunderbolt. Counter users are substantially worse. For Annihilate and something like a Medicham, it's 7-7-6 for Ice Punch. That's kind of wild. So yeah, counter users definitely not what they quite used to be, but I do still think they are somewhat useful in certain cases. We bring in the Lickilicky to the Basti, the opponent brings back in Dragonair. We're going to start Body Slam spamming this thing. As you can see, the rollouts are adding up. We're actually pretty close to being able to roll out down. The opponent here, I think they go for Body Slam. In neutral situations, it's actually better to go for Aqua Tail now. Aqua Tail does 66 damage versus 60 on Body Slam, so definitely keep that in mind. Aqua Tail is the preferred move in Dragonair. In comes Bastiodon. Ladies and gents, once again, you've seen it once, you've seen it twice. Are we going to see it 3 times? Does the opponent respect it? No, they do not. There's 65% of Basti's health gone. These smackdowns are just tickling the Dunsparce here. We let this move go, absolutely no problem. In neutral matchups, Bastiodon's basically terrible now at this point. You basically just have to put this Pokemon down. I know everybody loves using it. that you love spamming your Basti and your Victory Bell, but you know, sometimes things move on. It's time to let these things go. Start using some different Pokemon. If you want to use something with rock type moves, use Dunsparce, use Lickilicky, use some of the buff Pokemon. Bastiodon is just not it anymore. We built up to back-to-back moves here. I think I actually baited the rock slide the first time, just for fun, because of course the opponent's going to shield it. If they let that go, that would have been pretty hilarious, but we probably could have won that match straight rock slide at that point. We have 2 rollout users. We come into the Lickilicky here, and basically once again, we're just trying to misalign the clocks. 50-second switch timer. Always try to get off your move on the lead Pokemon if you safe swap. I done 4 rollouts to get to the body slam here, which is 6 seconds basically, plus 12 seconds for the move, 12 seconds for the opponent's move. For any mathematicians out there, that's 30 seconds out of the 50-second clock. And as you can see, as I'm getting this Earthquake up, basically after they throw this move, my switch clock will be up, right? So the opponent's really forced to stay in here at this point. They cannot get out of this matchup. They stayed in for too long. If they don't have a direct answer in the back, of course they will have to stay in. But I'm looking pretty fine here, because like if they're staying in against my Lickilicky and double shielding, my Dunsparce is going to get a huge energy lead. Of course they're going to debuff me into Oblivion, which is only going to give me more energy, so I'm pretty happy with that. This is getting kind of awkward, because if they do have something like a Clodsire, this gets slightly awkward with the Clefable. I pretty much have to swap out. They're going to double debuff me here. So if it did so happen to be a Clodsire in the back, which I think kind of makes sense with a Dugong lead, right, because it's weak to counter, weak to electric, Clodsire would make sense. We would be in a tricky position, but thankfully it is Stinky Binky. We don't have the Meteor Mash anymore, but you guys are going to see buff Fairy Wind plus Moonblast is enough to get this job done if you have shields up. We're going to shield the potential Rock Slide here, perfectly fine. This will do quite a lot of damage to the Clefable. Clefable, not known for its bulk, of course. We go for the Moonblast number 2, and what you guys are about to see here is like the huge upgrade for this move. We're actually in a position now where we can Fairy Wind all the way down. These Fairy Winds have added up so much that we can actually Fairy Wind down a Carbink, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the league. They come back into Superior. It's going to get mated and greeted by a Moonblast to the face. We're going to go for the Wombo combo here. Chicken Snack Box and Coke. Buy one, get one free. We're going for the Rock Slide here, which of course was nerfed last season, or this season should I say. We're going to go for another one. Absolutely no reason to mess around here. Get rid of the Superior, roll it down the Carbink, and that's good games well played. Now sometimes when we have move updates, it's really difficult to actually notice the difference between the moves, but in this one, where it's super noticeable, you can really see the difference. In the next match here we have a Clefable, we're going to build some Moonblast, we're going to go for the Swift. It's reasons like this that I enjoyed having Swift, just having that cheaper move here. We're actually one off a Swift, it's straight 4 Fairy Winds for Swift, which is amazing. Just having that spammy move for neutral matchups really helps, and you're going to see in a negative matchup later on, Swift really helped me in this Pokemon. We're going to go for Body Slam here on the Clefable. It does very minimal damage here. Of course, they debuff me with the Icy Wind. I'm going to go for this once again. I'm not trying to take swap. I'm just trying to burn the switch timer once again. That's how you basically want to play this season, I think. Don't always play for a super alignment based. I did make it to another Body Slam, so I decided just to get this off here. The opponent goes for a Swift of their own, funny enough. We get off the Body Slam. That's basically perfect for me. The whole clock is burned, and the opponent actually decides to give up alignment. They come in, they get the Mud Shot down with the Quagsire, which of course has increased damage this season, but worse energy generation. So in a way, that buff to Mud Shot helped them. They were able to Mud Shot down and come out with a ton of energy. So this is really awkward here. I bring in the Clefable. We're one off the move. I do want to make it to a Moonblast. It's the only thing that's going to threaten a knockout here. Maybe I could have went for double Swift. That would have forced me to shield the move. Wasn't really trying to do that. I'm happy just to get this massive damage off and basically put the hope and faith into our Dunsparce. This is in an awkward range, and again, I keep banging on about it, but in previous seasons, this was not manageable. These rollouts are just so resisted and do so little damage that like rolling this out into drill run range was pretty much impossible. But as you can see, these moves are really adding up, and the opponent comes into a Marowak. So we have a real chance here. What I decide to do here is not allow the opponent to get me into like a Mud Bomb range or anything like that. Arguably, what I could have done here is basically overfarmed, shielded the move, but I just didn't want to take the risk. I would rather shield the Quagsire's move. The pacing is a lot slower. The Mud Shots are really adding up. We're going to go for one and fro here just for absolute certainty that this move hopefully knocks out. It is super close, and the opponent is getting close to a move, but we do knock it out here. Absolutely sensational. You love to see it, folks. And in that set, we get a 5-0. We went super positive with this team. I think I went 9-1 or 10-1, one of the two. We bring in this here. Once again, the opponents are just not ready for it. They're just not ready for it. I go for the move right away. The opponent goes for their move right away. I'm happy to take it here. I go straight for the Earthquake, no messing around. The opponent thinks it's a Body Slam or a Shallow Ball, but it's absolutely not. It's the Earthquake. We're going to go for the Body Slam right away. As you can see, we get there in free after throwing the Earthquake. This gets really spammy, and this basically puts it in a rollout down range. The opponent's forced to stay in this match because they've stayed in for so long at this point. We're going to shield, and I probably here could have rolled it down. I made a mistake by throwing the Body Slam here, because I guess I kind of underestimated the damage, and I was kind of miscounting. Like I said, we were on stream sort of hanging out with chat, and the opponent actually does come into a Feraligatr here. I decided just to get this move off before they get off their move. This will put a nice little chip into it, and basically put it into a range where we can deal with it with Dunsparce. The opponent does go for a CMP tie here. That puts the opponent on 7 Shadow Claws. We come into Dunsparce here, we can easily take a move. It definitely hurts a lot. I'm thinking like this might be one of the hardest hitting moves left in the game, so I might just want to preserve some health here. Because the opponent threw an alignment, I was very inclined to shield that move, because if they shield this one, we get a huge rollout down, get a ton of energy, so I decide, okay, they're certainly weak to this in the back, we'll catch on the Clefable. This will hurt, but we just need to make sure that we've got the right Pokemon here for the back Pokemon. I made the correct shielding choice. The opponent comes into a jump off. We're going to go for a massive Moonblast, which hits like an absolute truck. Doesn't matter how bulky this thing is, that hits like a truck. And here, right again, you're seeing this is where Swift is absolutely clutch sometimes. Just getting off that last second move, the opponent not expecting me to get to the move so quickly, went for a big overfarm, but it's straight forward to the Swift, man. That's absolutely huge. Gets the opponent basically in rollout down range. They can throw any one move here. Energy Ball is the most efficient and hard-hitting move. We can roll out down this. The funny thing here is, the opponent comes back into the Gator. They do go for the catch on the Lantern. Ain't gonna happen, buddy. We're just gonna roll out down the whole team, and that's GG's. So here it is as promised, the Nightmare lead, Clodsire, not the greatest thing you want to see. Once again, we're coming into the Lickilicky, we're hitting them with the Surprise Earthquake. I'm going to go for the CMP tie here. I've run bad timing deliberately here just to get this off at the same time. Bang! That's half Clodsire herself gone. Now this is in a really manageable position. Again, we've burned the switch clock by about 30 seconds. The opponent's more or less forced to stay in here, or they just RPS themselves. Very, very awkward for the opponent. Now I'm going to start going straight Body Slam. Once again, further burn the switch clock, put as much chip into this as possible. We don't really care about taking this out necessarily. We just want to chip this down so low that it's not a threat to Clefable anymore. At this point, like, this is not a threat. We can go straight Swift on this thing if we want to. They go Earthquake here, a little bit unnecessary, I would say. They probably could have got away with the Stone Edge, but the opponent not wanting to take any risks. I'm expecting them to go straight Earthquake here again, but funny enough, they actually go Stone Edge on this one. So the opponent's move selection, quite interesting here. Now, what I didn't expect is the opponent to go for a shield. They actually do shield that move. The opponent seems to be desperate to either keep the Claw alive to do some damage to the Clefable, or of course try to take out the Dunsparce. We're all shields down, the opponent comes into a Clefable, or sorry, a Jump Off, and we go for Rock Slide right away. If it's Shadow, 2 plus rollouts near enough knocks it out. If it's non-shadow, as you can see, they can take that move pretty decently. They go for Energy Ball here, definitely the correct move to go for. We one and throw here for good timing, and I'm just hoping I can outpace this thing. I am thinking they're very weak to this in the back, so I might try to catch the move in Clefable. I don't quite make the catch, but because it's non-shadow, I'm not too worried about this Energy Ball here. 2 of these will not quite knock it out, and in comes Typhlosion. Ladies and gents, this is where Swift is going to make a huge difference for Clefable. Bang! It does about 40%, 35%. The Fairy Winds are adding up. The buff Fairy Winds really adding up on the Typhlosion. And the opponent's in a position where they actually have to throw the move immediately just because I got a bit of an energy lead. That's absolutely insane. So the opponent was not worried about the Clefable, but they started becoming worried as soon as they got Swifted twice. They thought, okay, I've got 2 answers to this thing, I'm basically fine. They come into the Jump Off, get rolled out of down, come into the Clodsire, take a Drill Run to the face, and that's absolute curtains for the opponent. You love to see it, folks. Again, like, Clefable doing that well into Typhlosion is ridiculous. Now, in this next battle, I play like an absolute potato, right? So what I should be doing is going into one of my normal types. I've got 2 normals in the back. They have rollouts, the moves are fine. Although, it does kind of wall my Lickilicky. That's the kind of bad thing about not having Shadow Ball. So I guess that's kind of the reason I decided to stay in here and chip. The opponent actually lets that go. I'm like, bruh, please don't shield this Moonblast, just let it go. Just let me have this one, big boy. He lets me have it, and he comes into a Stinky Binky. We come into the Lickilicky here. Once again, ladies and gents, the opponents just are not ready for Earthquake. I do think this is the correct moveset this season, just based on the meta that we have. The opponent's an insta-throwing Andy on the Moonblast. I'm like, you know what, buddy, I'm going to shield this, you know what? I'm going to shield this move. Because I had a notion it might be Basti in the back. I just had that notion, Trevenant, double rock, because it kind of makes sense, right? 2 answers to flying, 2 answers to ice, 2 answers to fire, plus something that's weak to all of those things. I go for the catch and Clefable. We just about make it here, which is insane. You love to see it. Moonblast, bang. Moonblast me daddy. He obliges, and yeah, we're in a very good position here. I'll wait down my full switch clock here, go for 1 and throw in the Body Slam, just to basically put it into rollout down range, to burn the switch clock once again as well, because I swapped out, I chipped with a move, and I wanted to just burn the switch clock as much as possible, just in case the opponent had something bad for the Lickilicky, where I might want to knock it farm down, come into Dunsparce. Yep, the opponent ends up shielding a Body Slam here on CMP as well, which is absolute perfection. You love to see it, Ice Beam coming in, and we're basically plain sailing at this stage. It is absolute curtains here. We're going to start going for drill runs eventually. We go for the extra in this case. 1 drill run, not going to quite knock out. The only way that I lose this game basically is if the opponent makes a catch. I pause the turn on the drill run, make sure there's no catch available, and at this range, we basically have multiple paths to victory here. There's pretty much no way to lose this unless the opponent gets a catch. Even if they do get a catch, I think I just farm everything else down. It's not really much of a big deal here. We still have a shield. Stinky Binky comes back in, he gets rollouted the whole way down, and in the next one we get a Galarian Weezing lead. Once again I was trying to trick the opponent and they actually come into a low kicks. Was not expecting this. Certainly not an answer for this, especially not on counter. These moves are adding up though, which is quite interesting. The opponent gets off Trailblaze, X-Scissor, Dark Pulse. I know I can take any one move here. Low kicks with Sucker Punch and Trailblaze, definitely a very cool one. They just let that go, and again they bring back in the Galarian Weezing. I was like, please let me Earthquake your Weezing, dude. The opponent goes for the Brutal Swing immediately, which of course was one of Weezing's buffs this season. We bring in the Dunsparce, and I'm expecting the opponent to go for a full send here. Once again, the opponent is an insta-throwing Andy. They go straight for the overheat. Fantastic shield by me here, and yeah, in comes Clodsire. Definitely glad I shielded that overheat, because being up all of this energy is pretty huge in this matchup. Typically, Clodsire can outbulk you, but being up basically like almost 2 drill runs here really helps this match out. And again, if we can get this low enough, Clefable can deal with it. As long as they're not running Sludge Bomb, we're basically chilling. The opponent gets off the EQ, they realise that they probably should have went double Stone Edge, and they realise, yeah, that's just curtains for me here. I will definitely just outpace the 2 moves, put it into pretty much swift range, and yeah, there's not really a whole lot that can be done there. Hopping into the next one, we get Daddy Diggersby. I think I'll be showcasing some Diggersby, man. This Pokemon is going to be so good this season, and it's a bit of a core breaker for my team. It does really well into my whole team here, because we're using 2 rollout users. We're using a pretty glassy Pokemon in the lead. Diggersby, massive core breaker. Plug that thing into PV Poke, and look at it, bro. It is absolutely insane how well it does into the top meta. It has the Hyper Beams for the Mandies and the Jump Lofts and stuff like that. It has the Scorching Sands, and the opponent comes into a Poliwrath. Okay. That's interesting for sure. So, Poliwrath, the counters are still ripping for my Dunsparce, obviously. That's what I'm talking about. Some of these Pokemon are still going to be useful with counter. You've seen the opponent getting some decent usage out of DD. I don't think DD is any good at all. But like Poliwrath with the Icy Winds and stuff, maybe even with Pop could be quite decent. You know, just for that raw damage, because a lot of people will be disrespecting counter at this point. So it could be a case where like counter gets so disrespected that people continue to use it. I was using Machamp earlier and the opponent had a low kick Annihilate, bro. I was not ready for that whatsoever. So like counter, it is definitely horrible in neutral matchups, but it still has its use. Once again, we're building up to the Earthquake, throwing on good timing here. The opponent does not respect the move. You absolutely love to see it. I can take any one move from the Clodsire here. I kind of wish I shielded this move in a way, because the Poliwrath is still really healthy. I decide the opponent's going to let this move go, basically come in and try to close it out with Poliwrath and their all our Pokemon. So this is a little bit sticky dicky here. Diggersby, Poliwrath, I feel like these Pokemon are going to be able to close this out, unfortunately. The opponent ends up shielding the move, which of course makes things even more awkward. I would have loved to have got off some energy on the Diggersby, who itself has a lot of energy here. The opponent's an insta-throwing Andy, and this is when I realised the jig is up, folks. The opponent's on Fire Punch. I have no chance of winning this game. The opponent just about outpaces me here. Getting off a Swift might have made it fairly close if they were on the Hyper Beam moveset. We might have been okay here, but yeah, very well played. Good games to the opponent, and very interesting team of Poliwrath. Double Rollout is looking really strong in the Great League. I highly recommend it. Run it in the lead with Clefable, a Ghost, your fairy of choice. Azu probably works. You would basically be triple hard countering something like a Feraligatr and a Mandibles. So this team right here will be core breaking just a lot of popular Great League teams. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Drop a like on the video, subscribe. I really appreciate it. Big thank you for watching. Last but not least, and most importantly, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all next time.